He disappeared as a broken man and returned as a king ready to reclaim his throne. Episode 5. The Final Revelation. The morning air carried a tense stillness, as if the entire town held its breath in anticipation of what was about to unfold. Zainab stood by her window, watching the bustling street below, her mind far from the noise and chatter of the market. Her thoughts were consumed by everything Luqman had confessed, every word replaying in her mind like scenes from a film she couldn't turn off. She had loved him as a man, but now she had to face the truth of who he truly was, a billionaire fugitive from his own empire. As she stared at the sky, she realized that pretending nothing had changed would be impossible. She heard the sound of his footsteps approaching before he knocked, his presence filling the small room like a familiar storm. Luqman entered with bandaged hands and tired eyes, his face set with quiet determination. He had made a decision overnight. The time for hiding was over. "Zainab," he began, his voice low but steady, "I need your help." Her heart skipped a beat, not out of fear, but because she understood the gravity of his words. He explained that Bello and the board were planning to finalize the hostile takeover in less than 48 hours. If he didn't reveal himself and reclaim his seat, everything he built would be gone forever. She listened silently, realizing that this was bigger than both of them. In that moment, a strange strength rose within her. She wasn't just a bystander anymore, she was part of his fight. Meanwhile, Bello tightened his grip on the empire like a snake coiling around its prey. In the towering boardroom of Luqman's company, surrounded by glass walls and expensive suits, Bello delivered a speech declaring a new era. He painted Luqman as an irresponsible figure who abandoned his duties, carefully planting lies to sway the undecided board members. Behind the scenes, he worked with corrupt government officials to block Luqman's legal return. He even hired media outlets to spread fake reports that Luqman had gone insane while abroad. Everything was moving according to his plan. But what Bello didn't know was that Luqman had secretly contacted 2 loyal executives and 1 legal ally who had been waiting for his signal. In a quiet corner of the town, Luqman and his allies strategized their comeback. Zainab watched in awe as Luqman transformed before her eyes. Gone was the quiet, mysterious stranger she had met in the rain. In his place stood a man of power and resolve. His posture straightened, his voice commanded respect, and his eyes burned with purpose. He decided to return to the city not as a fugitive, but as a king reclaiming his throne. Zainab hesitated at first, knowing the dangers that awaited him, but when he asked her to stand by his side, she nodded. She knew her life would change forever, but her loyalty and heart had already chosen their path. Together they boarded a private vehicle arranged by his allies, heading toward the city that once turned its back on him. As they approached the city, memories of Luqman's past flooded back to him like a tidal wave. He remembered the night he fled, the betrayal, the fear, the headlines that declared him a failure. But now, every billboard, every skyscraper, every corner seemed to whisper his name, as if the city itself knew its rightful king was returning. They arrived at the gates of his company, where security guards immediately recognized him. Some were stunned, others whispered his name in disbelief. Within minutes, news of his return spread like wildfire across social media. Reporters swarmed the entrance, cameras flashing, eager to capture the man who had disappeared and returned from the shadows. Bello, inside the boardroom, received the news with a mixture of shock and fury. He barked orders to block the press, but it was too late. Luqman walked through the front doors with Zainab by his side, every step measured, every gaze fixed ahead. His allies had arranged a legal injunction to halt any board decisions until his presence was formally addressed. The boardroom doors opened, and the man everyone thought was gone forever stood before them. Silence fell, thick and heavy. Bello forced a smile, trying to regain control, but his eyes betrayed his panic. Luqman didn't waste time. He began speaking, revealing the evidence of Bello's forged documents, embezzlement, and corruption. Gasps echoed through the room as files and recordings were played, exposing the traitor before everyone. The showdown between Luqman and Bello was intense, like two lions circling the same territory. Bello tried to deny everything, but Luqman's legal ally presented undeniable proof, piece by piece. Board members who had once sided with Bello shifted uncomfortably in their seats as their schemes unraveled. Zainab watched from the side, her heart pounding, knowing this moment would define not just Luqman's future, but hers as well. Bello, cornered and desperate, lashed out, accusing Luqman of abandoning his company and running away like a coward. Luqman responded calmly, explaining how he had uncovered a deadly plot that threatened not just his life, but the stability of the empire itself. He turned to each board member, reminding them of the vision they had built together, of the trust they once shared. His words cut through the tension like a blade, leaving no room for doubt. Eventually, the chairman called for an emergency vote of confidence. Hands were raised one by one, and the decision was unanimous. Luqman was reinstated as CEO. Bello tried to storm out, but security intercepted him, handing him over to the authorities waiting outside. As cameras flashed, Luqman stood tall, not as a man who returned from hiding, but as a leader who faced his past and reclaimed his destiny. Zainab felt a swell of pride as she watched him, knowing she had witnessed the rise of a man from nothing back to everything. In the days that followed, the city buzzed with the story of Luqman's dramatic return. Interviews flooded television stations, newspapers ran headlines calling him the billionaire who vanished and conquered, and social media exploded with support. Zainab struggled to adjust to the new world around her. One moment she was selling spare parts in a noisy market. The next, she was walking through polished marble floors and chauffeured vehicles. Yet Luqman made sure she was never lost in the chaos. He introduced her to his world with respect, not as someone beneath him, but as the woman who stood beside him when the world turned its back. One evening, standing on the rooftop of his company's headquarters, they watched the sunset together. The wind brushed against their faces, carrying the sounds of a city that now celebrated his name. "I never imagined this," Zainab whispered. He looked at her and replied, "Neither did I, but some stories are written where we least expect them." Their hands intertwined, not out of fairy tale perfection, but through shared battles, secrets, and revelations that bound them deeply. The homeless man she once pitied was now the man whose truth had changed her life forever. And though the journey had been painful, the revelation of his identity brought not an ending, but a powerful, hopeful beginning.